But what about something that's not weight bearing? So something like throwing, for example. Does that actually improve bone density? So we all know that exercise improves bone density, and obviously we kind of consider that it's about weight bearing exercise. So obviously like squats, running, jumping, all that sort of stuff. Obviously a lot of that's lower limb. What about upper limb? Again, you can do plyometric press-ups and press-ups of course and so on, and again more weight bearing. But what about something that's not weight bearing? So something like throwing, for example. Does that actually improve bone density? Because you don't think of it as loading the bone, do you? You think of it differently. And there was a research study done here on baseball players who obviously throw the ball a lot. And they looked at them through various stages of their career, and they were looking at the humeral diaphysis, which is basically the type of bone in the humerus. And they were looking to see, obviously, its thickness throughout time. Now what they did is they compared their throwing arm to their non-throwing arm, because obviously there's a lot of dominance, of course, in this sport. And they saw that the thickness was very different. When they were playing, they found the thickness of their dominant arm and the strength of the bone in that dominant arm was nearly twice as much as in the non-dominant arm. So there's a definite thing that goes on there. So now you might imagine is, if they stopped playing, would they just lose all of what they'd gained and it would go back to being in a normal kind of state? So they looked at them later on when they had retired, when they were older as well, to see if they'd maintained any of that dominance kind of increase in strength and bone thickness in the humerus. And this is what they found. They found that the thickness and the strength was maintained. And this highlights that a lot to do with bone density is doing it earlier, younger. So if you can develop a good exercise regime and develop nice bone density and thickness and strength when you're younger, you'll maintain it when you're older. Now obviously we do know that you can develop bone density and bone strength as you're older if you hadn't got it in the first place, but it shows that if you do it when you're younger, you'll maintain it even with the absence of the thing that caused it in the first place, which is really interesting. So it shows what you do when you're young is really key in regards to bone density. It also shows you that you don't need weight bearing exercise. I'm not going to say that this is better than weight bearing exercise, but it's hard to say off this research paper. It highlights exercise full stop will actually increase bone density, because obviously you've got a lot of forces that are going on in there, rotational forces, torsional forces, a lot of muscle contraction forces that are pulling onto the bone, ligamentous forces under stretch and so on. So there are a lot of forces that are going on in there. So this was obviously very interesting just to see that you can actually develop bone density and strength, and you can maintain it even in the upper limb and with non-weight bearing exercise. So anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.